present to you. So you should be able to see it now, coming in. Excellent. All right, well, good morning. This is April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day. There's no jokes today, though. So, happy, like I said, good morning. Hopefully everybody's doing well on this fantastic, what is today? Tuesday? Wednesday? Wednesday, right? Wednesday. Um, like I said, what I want to do with you guys today is I want to just make sure we go over those multiple choice questions in detail. I have a couple great explanations planned for you. Hopefully that should make things all kind of make sense. So that would be good. We don't need any of the Algebra 2 stuff anymore. Some of you asked already at the beginning of class, just talking to me a minute ago, you were saying, when are we just going to keep doing these multiple choice questions? Are we going to shift to doing something else? Essentially, my thought process is that I want to continue to do multiple choice until the College Board releases the actual topics that are going to be the focus of the free response questions. Once they do that, I want to shift completely over to doing free response questions for you on the AP Computer Science A exam. All right, to prep you for that. So that's my idea. After the AP Computer Science A exam is given, then these little half-hour meetings will really just be strictly question and answer as it relates to your final project. So that's sort of the idea. What else did I want to say? Oh, I did provide you, though, and I want to make sure that you understand that it is largely, because we have this distance learning environment and because things are all crazy the way they are now, it is largely on your shoulders to prepare for the AP Computer Science A exam in addition to what we do in this class together. Yes, I'm trying to provide you with as many resources as I can, but ultimately, especially being an AP class, I expect that you are, taking it upon yourself, maybe not quite yet because it is a little early, but definitely within the next couple of weeks to really try to read the textbook that's provided to you on Classroom, really watch those free AP video lessons that the College Board is providing. I think those are really fantastic resources as well. I think so a couple other things you can do is I want to get you set up on something called AP Student, which is a resource that provides you with a lot of free practice AP material. I'll get you set up on that. Like I said, as soon as the College Board releases their information on Friday, I'll get everybody all hooked up on that idea. But that's really where we're at. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Mr. Ferreira is as well. Like, he's here, he's available. We're happy to answer any questions that you have via email or one of these live meetings. But again, that responsibility does fall on you, that you have to really study and be diligent with getting that stuff done. Trying to provide you with as many resources as I can to make that happen. Again, we're here if you have any questions, though. Please feel free to ask. All right, so let's go ahead and go through these multiple choice questions together. I was very pleased to see 10 responses this time. Still not 100%, but I don't want to take credit away from those of you that are doing fantastic work. Better than in the past, so that's good. All right, so looking at question number one. Question number one was talking about strings. You have this method here focused on doing something with strings. You have this final string called a blank, which is just a blank space. You have string str, which starts as empty, and the string called temp. What it does is it goes through a loop all the way to the end of the string, and it says temp is equal to s dot substring and then I comma I plus 1. So think about what that's going to do. Is it's s dot substring of I comma I plus 1. That's really just going to grab one character at a time as you go throughout the whole string. Because the way substring works is, I always compare it to the math formula for like domain and range, is that it includes the first thing but excludes the second. So if I did something like this, that's going to grab the character at index 0 of the string and turn it into a substring, right? So really what this line does is it just goes character by character through the string, and it stores it in this temporary string called temp. It then says if temp is not equal to blank, add it to this string called str. And then by the end of all of that, return the string. So really what it's doing, if you're noticing, is it's removing all of those blank spaces from your original input. So which of the following best describes the functionality of the method find something? This is definitely something that is nitpicky but important. So I noticed, going back to the document, most of the responses were between B and C, which is good. I believe those two responses are definitely the best, which describes what's going on, and they almost say the same thing. but there is a very key difference. Choice B says the method returns the string S with all of its blanks removed, and choice C says the method returns a string equivalent to S with all of its blanks removed. And really the correct choice here is in fact C, because it's not returning S itself. It doesn't say return S, and it doesn't change S throughout this entire process. What it does is it constructs a new string that is equivalent to string S with all of its blanks removed. So that's a really important distinction. If you said choice B, then that's definitely an indication that you were like understood what was going on here, and I think that's great. But make sure you're keen on that that wording, because again, it may seem like a nitpicky thing, but it's an important thing. Does anybody have a question on that first problem? All right, very good. Let's continue the second problem. Second problem is very funny. I think it's very funny because it's kind of like those mathy problems that I was giving you at the beginning. I was very surprised to see one of those in an AP practice material. Maybe not surprised, because I know they're going to show up. That's why I gave them to you. But I was like, ooh, this looks like a problem I would have made. So I actually have for you, you ready for a little treat here, a little layout to be able to do this type of problem. I think is the best way to do this type of problem, I'm trying to say, is on paper. So what I want to do for you is I want to transition here to just one of my math layouts here. Look at this, look at this, look at this, and I got the problem written down here. I want to make sure that we go through this problem together. When you're faced with one of these problems, really the idea is that you're just tracing the code and figuring out what's going on. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is to keep track of the value of X and the value of Y throughout your whole program. All right, so you start out by saying, I know we're not Algebra 2 CP, this is not radical equations, but you start out by saying X is equal to 10. So let's start with that value of 10. Y is equal to 0. It then says while X is greater than 5, it certainly is, so we're going to go inside. Let's change Y to now be 3. It then says Y is equal to itself multiplied by 2, so now Y is 6. Because Y is less than X still. If Y mod X is equal to 1, then increase Y. Well, let's take a look. Y mod X, 6 mod 10. 6 mod 10 means if you take 6 and divide it by 10, what is the remainder? Well, 6 divided by 10 is 0 with remainder 6, right? Because 6 is less than 10. So 6 mod 10 would equal 6, because how many times does 10 go into 6? It goes in 0 times, and there's 6 left over, and that's what mod is really concerned with. So this is not true, so it's not going to do this. It's then going to go back to the top of this while loop. It's going to increase Y by multiplying it by 2, so now Y is going to be 12. It says if Y mod X is equal to 1, we now have 12 mod 10. 12 mod 10 is if I take 12 divided by 10, what's the remainder? That's going to be 2 in this particular case, correct? Because it goes in once with 2 left over. So that's not the case here, so this doesn't happen. It goes back up to the top of the loop. Y doubles again, now up to 24. Right.
Wouldn't it evaluate as less than 10?
Yeah. Ooh. That's it. That's it, Mr. Ferreira. You are on the ball with that. Absolutely. So that's a very key mistake right there. Ooh, I want to make sure I point that out. Okay. I forgot to consider the value of that while loop. Did you see that? Let me go ahead and start over. I want to make sure that we're very clear on this problem. Okay. So starting here, X is greater than 5. So I go inside. Y is now 3. Thank you. I'm glad I actually made that mistake. Y is less than X, so 3 is less than 10, so we double Y. We now have Y mod X is equal to 1. Is that true? It's not true for the reason that we said before. 6 mod 10 is equal to 6. So this doesn't occur. It goes down here. It goes back up to the top. 6 is still less than 10, so it doubles itself to 12. 12 mod 10 is now equal to 2. which is still not 1. So this doesn't occur. It goes back up to here. Now, as Mr. Ferreira just pointed out, and I'm so glad he did, that would not occur, right? That while statement is now false. 12 is not less than 10 anymore. So we're done with this section of code. We're going to jump right down to here, in which we subtract x by 3. X is equal to itself minus 3, which is 7. We then go to the bottom of this while loop, which is going to kick us back up to the top. Is 7 greater than 5? It certainly is. So we're going to jump right back inside and just keep going. Let's set y equal to 3. Y is 3. 3 is less than 7, so we're going to double 3. We are then going to say if y mod x is equal to 1. So is 6 mod 7 equal to 1? I don't believe that's true either. If you take 6 and divide it by 7, how many times does 7 go into 6? 0 times with 6 left over. So I believe 6 mod 7 is still 6. In which case you would say that's not true. We go to the bottom here. That means we go back up to the top. Y is still less than x, so we're going to double y to 12. If 12 mod 7 is equal to 1, is that true? 12 mod 7, I don't believe is equal to 1 either. 12 mod 7 is 5, right? Because if you do 12 divided by 7, there's 5 left over. So this doesn't occur. We go back to the bottom now. We trigger the while loop here where it says y is less than x. That is no longer the case because y is 12. So we go to the bottom here. We subtract x by 3. X now becomes 4. We go back up to the top of this while statement. 4 is no longer greater than 5. So this while loop is done, and we're pretty much done with our whole program. So our actual output should be that x is 4 and y is 12, which is choice D, which 50% of people got right. Does that make sense to everybody why that's the case? Go ahead and shift back over to the screen. Again, I'm actually really glad that Mr. Ferrer pointed that out, and that was a very easy mistake to make, was to not check this while statement as you go through. So make sure that you are, in fact, checking that while statement as you run through that code. Happy with that? All right, very good. Number 3 said, the following program segment is intended to find the index of the first negative integer in array index 0 all the way to array index n-1, where ARR is an array consisting of n integers. It says while I is equal to 0, while array index I is greater than or equal to 0, I++, and then location equals I. So essentially, it's just going to continue through the array until it finds something in which this is no longer the case, and then it's just going to spit back this location. This program segment will work as intended, and the choices are always, never, and then a couple conditionals. The majority opinion here was that choice C is the correct way to go, and I agree with you that choice C is the correct way to go. Because if you notice, if there are no negative integers in the array, then what's going to happen is it's just going to keep searching, no negatives, no negatives, no negatives, until it eventually goes out of bounds, which would be very, very bad, right? That's going to result in a crash. If there is at least one negative integer, it works just fine, because as soon as it finds a negative integer, it says, ooh, that's my location, right? But until that's the case, again, it's just going to keep searching. So this would work fine as long as there is a negative integer within this array. Questions on that? All right, very good. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Two negatives.
What is it?
If there's like two negatives, I don't get how it's going to track it in the location, because aren't the eyes going to add together and it's not going to work?
That's a good question. The only thing that this program is trying to do is it's trying to find the first negative one that it finds. It's not trying to find any negatives. It's not trying to say like the sum of the negatives or what are all the negatives. It's just saying whatever the first one is. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Kind of. The idea is it's starting at index 0, right? So think of the fact that it would start at the beginning of the list. It would say, is this value positive? In which case, let's go to now index 1. And it's going to say, is this value positive? In which case, let's go to index 2. And then, is this value positive? In which case, let's go to index 3. Until it finds something that this is not true, and then in which case I is now going to be 3. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah, that makes sense how you trace through that. Okay, good. Excellent. Any other questions about that? Okay, moving on now to question 4. I think question 4 is a great question for array lists. Super awesome. So it says, considering the following method, remove word. It's just this void method that takes a word list, takes an array of type string called word list, takes this string called word, it searches through the whole array list, and it says if you find the word, then remove it. Right? I think it's a pretty straightforward idea to understand what this method is actually doing. It says the intent of the method is to remove all occurrences of word from word lists, but it does not always work as intended. Consider the method called remove word list cat. What that means is it wants to take this list of words, and if it finds the word cat, kick it out of the list. But it says, for which of the following sequences of strings contained in word list will this method call fail? So if you had the cat sat on the mat, and by the way, this was the AP practice that came up with these. I didn't come up with these. Even though this is definitely something I would have typed. The cat sat on the mat. Would that work out fine? It totally would, because as soon as it finds cat, it would remove it from the list, and then it would just continue on its way, right? The trick here, oh boy, that is pre-calc. The trick here is that was a diagram from a pre-calc word problem. The trick here is that once you remove something from an array list, right, the rest of the contents of that list shift to the left to fill in that missing gap. So if I look here, right, following my program, say I follow through this first string, it would look here, that's not an instance of cat, so it moves on. Cat, is that an instance of cat? It is. So what happens is it removes that. This now becomes your new index 1, but this program is just going to continue on its way, now looking at index 2. So do you see that it, like, when that removal actually occurs, this, like, doesn't get rechecked. It takes this, it removes it, and then it continues to search the next word, and continues to search the next word, and continues to search the next word. So in the instance of something like choice B, where you have the cat sat on the mat doesn't really do anything, but right here, what's going to happen is when it finds this instance of the word cat, which is this statement right here, it's going to remove it from the list, which is going to cause everything to shift over. It's then going to look at the next position in the array list because it just checked index 1, so now it's going to check index 2. But in doing that, it skips over checking this word again. So what would cause this program to fail is if you have that word, whatever this word happens to be, twice in a row. And so that would be choice B. All right, and we got about 50% right on that. 40% right on that. Most people thought it was choice E. Choice E, actually, I'm glad people brought that up. Choice E would actually work fine. What would actually happen is that the method would just do nothing, but it would still work. Like, it would still accomplish its intended purpose of removing cat from the list. It just would so happen that cat is not in the list, but it doesn't mean it didn't work. Does that make sense? So that's an important distinction between does the method, like, do something versus does the method work properly. Here, if you had the statement choice E that got passed in, the method wouldn't end up changing the list at all because it doesn't find the word cat in the list, but that doesn't mean that it didn't function as intended. Right? Any other questions about that? Okay, last but not least, we had one on inheritance. This is, again, another instance of my favorite type of inheritance problem, one that really emphasizes the difference between a subclass and a superclass, emphasizes the difference between what methods become high priority and what methods become low priority when dealing with polymorphism. So you have these this class up here called performer and this class called singer, which extends performer. It says suppose you have this declaration in a class other than performer or singer, performer P equals new singer. And what's printed when you say P.act. What happens when you say this is that since we created a new singer, right, the methods of singer become high priority, right? Because performer is a new singer. But since it could also be, or since P is a new singer, since this P, though, can also be referred to in the context of performer, performer becomes low priority. All right? So whatever follows this word new when you see something like this, and I can almost guarantee that a question like this would be on the AP exam, um, this becomes a high priority thing. And oh, maybe it would if not for all the changes. But normally a question like this would be on the AP exam. This would become a low priority thing. So this is your high priority. This is your low priority. So when we do P.act, because P is a singer primarily, it's going to do the act method of singer, meaning it's going to print rise. It's then going to do super.act. Well, super.act is going to take it up here. It's going to do bow. Perform comes next. Since it is primarily a singer, singer methods are high priority, so then it's going to do aria. That's done here. This is now done. So now it goes down to encore. And so altogether, it's going to print choice A. Rise, bow, aria, encore. And we got about 50% saying that. All right. Choice B, I think, probably came from the fact that people said perform, and they were like, ooh, perform. But remember, since this is a new singer, those methods contained within the singer class now have high priority. And those methods contained in other classes, be it performer, or even if there were more rungs up the inheritance hierarchy, they would become lower and lower priority. Alrighty. Hopefully that's clear to everybody, yes? I am very pleased with the fact that we got more responses this time for the multiple choice. Still not 100% though, so please, 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 very important. If you are not doing them, it really just helps to maintain that freshness in preparation for the AP exam. We're all happy with that? Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns about these three multiple choice questions, or these five, excuse me, multiple choice questions? We're all good? Feeling happy? All right. Mr. Ferreira, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I'm good.
All good? Makes sense? Yes? All right. So a couple of things I want to emphasize. Going forward, I am going to give you one more set of multiple choice questions just in preparation for the next time we see each other. The next time we see each other, by the way, is not until Monday, because Friday is now a teacher planning day, so our class will not meet on Friday. The schedule will just roll over, though, so Friday was supposed to be a blue day. Now Monday is going to be a blue day, so we're going to see each other on Monday, April 6th next. There will be another 5 multiple choice questions to complete in preparation for next class. By then, I will have all of the information from the College Board as to what's going to be on the AP exam for free response questions, what topics I should focus on, sample practice problems that I should give you. So we are going to shift starting next class to really talking about more free response questions. I'm going to talk to you about how the free response questions are formatted and a bunch of sample questions on that. All right. Does anybody have anything to add or anything else? All right. Just another reminder is that if you didn't fill out the attendance form on Google Classroom, please make sure you do that. You should be all the while working on your final project, so that final project should be kind of churning in the background. I received a couple emails about which partner pairs are working together. There's still a couple that I have not yet received, so if you are planning on working with someone, just make sure you indicate that. If you're planning on working alone, that's totally fine too. But again, you just need to make sure you indicate that to me just via email, please. I know some of you posted it in the Hangouts chat, but I just want to have that email record of it so I can say, all right, it's confirmed that these people are working together.
Is there like a list of people who don't have partners yet?
Is there a list of people that don't have partners yet? I can compile that and send that out to you if you want. Is that a good idea? Just so everybody can see, like, oh, who's already taken and who already is working with who? I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
All right, yeah, I'll do that during lunchtime today. I'll put that list together. It should only take like 5 minutes, so.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else?
Is there any kind of program you want us to use to actually do all the coding?
That's a good question, Caden. You can feel free to download and use Dr. Java, But if you have another IDE that you prefer, like Eclipse or there's a bunch of other ones, then feel free, whatever you want to use.
Yep.
Okay. Dr. Java might be good just because it's consistent and it's also free. But there's some others that if, hey, you want to pay for a fancy one, then by all means pay for a fancy one. Anything else? All right, guys, all great questions. I appreciate all the feedback and everything. If you have anything else for me, though, please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, make sure you fill out that attendance form on Classroom. And that's all I got for today. So I will see you on Monday. All right, again, make sure you do the 5 multiple choice questions that I post in time for then. And then we're going to shift to some free response. Okay? Have a fantastic rest of your day.
See you, Mr. Giorgio.
Thank you.